Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a crucial topic for parents facing separation or divorce in Canada, and that's child support. Understanding how child support is calculated can help reduce some of the stress during an already challenging time. So let's get started with a guide on how child support is calculated in Canada. So first off, what is child support? Child support is just financial assistance provided by a parent to the other to help cover the cost of raising a child after a separation or divorce. And in Canada, child support is governed based on the federal child support guidelines if the parents are married or the parties are married, or it could be calculated using the provincial guidelines, and in Ontario, the Ontario child support guidelines for parties that are not married or not dealing with their divorce at the time. Not to worry about which one you're using. For the most part, the federal and provincial guidelines sort of mirror each other. And what the guidelines do is they provide a framework for determining the amount of support that's to be paid. Like literally, it will tell you in the guidelines exactly how much child support should be paid given the income of a parent. So the first step in calculating the support is to determine income of the paying parent, right? And this includes income from all sources. So if you're employed, you have a side hustle, you have investments, pensions, every source of income is taken into consideration when determining child support. If you're, or the payor, whoever that is considered to be intentionally underemployed or unemployed, a court may impute income based on their earning capacity. And an imputing income is a whole complex area of its own, but I just at this point want you to be mindful that while your total income is what is looked at in calculating child support, your total income is your ability to earn, and the fact that you may be intentionally unemployed or underemployed could be a factor in a court deciding whether or not to impute income to you for child support purposes. After your income is determined, and again, this is determining income is not an easy subject sometimes. For most people that are regular workers that get a T4 at the end of the year, it's just a very easy exercise. What does the total income say on the taxes? And that's what applies. But for people who have other sources of incomes, business owners, those sorts of people, determining income may not be such a straightforward process. But once you've gotten to the point where income's determined, step 2 becomes referring to the guidelines. So whether you're working with the federal child support guidelines or the Ontario child support guidelines, just go to the table and match the amount of your child support based on your income. There's tools online that are also available to calculate this, but it's really just based on the province where you live in, the number of children that you have, and what your income is. Once you have that, you could tell exactly what your support would be just looking at the table. And what this does is it helps ensure consistency and fairness in child support calculations across the board. So in addition to the base child support, and what I'm talking about in, just looking at the child support guidelines and determining your income, I'm referring specifically to the tables. So these tables are part of the child support guidelines. In addition to the table amount, which is the base amount of child support, there's also special and extraordinary expenses that are additional. And these cover things like post-secondary expenses, daycare, extra expensive extracurricular activities, for example. And there's a whole number of items that could be special and extraordinary, right? So these are expenses that the courts expect payor to contribute to over and above the regular child support payments that are made. So for example, if you have a child that's, participating in hockey, for example, then in addition to paying the base child support, the expenses associated with hockey would be considered a special and extraordinary expense, and it would be shared proportionate to incomes. That's what the law says. It's in the guidelines. Special and extraordinary expenses are shared proportionate to incomes. And so once you have, the table amount, the section 7 amount, that's what would constitute your child support payable. Now, in some cases, child support would need to be adjusted, right? So if you have a shared parenting arrangement, for example, it wouldn't be just one party paying child support to the other. There might be a set-off. In a shared parenting arrangement, the one parent pays support to the other and vice versa. So they each pay support based on their respective incomes. And there would be a set-off that would be paid by the higher earning parent to the lower earning parent. That's kind of that's what's called the offset amount. So those might require, your child support might require an adjustment in those circumstances. But there might be some cases as well where there's undue hardship and the payer is not able to pay the amount that they're required to pay based on the guidelines. So this again is something that you will have to make a case for. Undue hardship is a whole separate area. There's a lot that goes into, successfully making a claim for undue hardship. But when you're able to meet that high threshold, that could be a reason for your child support to be adjusted accordingly. If a child has special needs as well, that could also be factored in. So what these adjustments do is just to ensure that child support orders are fair and appropriate for every family's unique circumstances. So once all of that is done, if you're in court or if you're even, doing this in the form of a separation agreement that you want to file with the courts afterwards, that could all be done. You could then get your child support order, and which has to set out the terms, the amount, and payment frequency, right? So typically child support is, for most people, is paid monthly, but depending on your circumstances, you can have it paid, bi-weekly, weekly, whatever the case may be. But once you have that articulated in your separation agreement or your court order, you have it. That's it. You're done. So I hope I've provided you with some valuable information on child support calculations. There's obviously a lot that a lot of questions that can arise out of these, right? Like what kind of situation would amount to undue hardship? Under what circumstances can a court impute income to me for underemployment and things like that? But in terms of a general overview, the main thing is to determine income, refer to the guidelines to see what support amount should be paid based on your income, see what, look if there's any Section 7 expenses that need to be paid, calculate the percentages that need to be paid based on your respective incomes, and then, schedule the frequency with which you want these amounts to be paid. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more informative content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.